Hello everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 15 and compare it against, basically just compare it against itself and see how it holds up in the later part of 2024. Now, this phone has been out for about a year now, and I do think the very interesting thing to keep in mind is that there's been a lot of things that have actually changed since this phone has officially came out. We got a new version of software, and we got the successors of these phones as well, which I think are super important things to keep in mind. Now, number one, I would say with something like the iPhone 15, this phone is still a very good phone. Still is very solid, but now that it's gone down in value, I do think there's probably other devices I probably recommend buying for the most part. Number one, I think an iPhone 15, the display and the build quality are still pretty good. The build quality is very nice, aluminum sides with the frosted glass back, but the screen just doesn't age that well. And when you take a look at this phone and you compare it against the iPhone, you compare it just to any other iPhone for the most part, a 16 Pro, 14 Pro, 13 Pro display, those ones are just better, and that's kind of the issue that you're running into. And I would much rather have a display like an iPhone that's going to be giving you a better display than something like this. And that's personally just kind of how I see it. So it's not a bad display, but the newer ones are definitely better. On top of that, the USB Type-C port is held up very well. The action button is nice. It's missing the camera button, but that's not really that big of a deal to me. I think a really big thing to keep in mind though is the performance of this phone. And it still is an excellent performing device for the most part. It has that A16 Bionic chip that has, 6 gigabytes of RAM, which is still a very good performing device. And I do think in almost every single way you can imagine, if you're going to go through and pick up a device like this, I think it's a very good device and I'm a really massive fan of it. So that is, once again, a super big thing to keep in mind. Now on iOS 18, this phone has been holding up very well as well. I don't really have too much to complain about here when it comes down to the software side of things on here. I just think a pretty big thing to keep in mind here is that if you are going to go through and use this iPhone on an everyday basis, a big thing to keep in mind is that iOS 18 is going to be getting better and better. So it's still not perfect right now, but it is going to be becoming a better version of software throughout the next couple of years. And throughout the next, 6-7 months, it's going to be getting better and better. So once again, I think that's a big thing to keep in mind. Right now, it's not the most stable thing of all time, but it is going to be getting better. And once again, super, super big thing to keep in mind when it comes down to it. On top of that, another very big thing is to kind of think about how this thing compared against, the iPhone 16s. And no matter which iPhone you're pretty much looking at, an iPhone 16, 16 Pro, 16 Pro Max, this device still holds up well. The 16s are faster, they have more RAM and everything like that, but I do think an iPhone 15 still is a very good performing iPhone. This thing is still very solid, and I genuinely think this is a very good performing iPhone when it comes down to it as well. There's not a lot of things to complain about here when it kind of comes down to it. And once again, if you're going to use this iPhone on an everyday basis, you're going to be having a very good experience with this thing too. So, in my personal opinion, I think the iPhone 15 is still a very good performing iPhone. I think it's a very solid device. If you are going to go through and pick up a device, I think this thing's a very good device. Is it perfect? No, but I think Apple did a really good job with it. And I genuinely think you might as well go and buy it if you're looking for an iPhone in this day and age. So in terms of that kind of covers it up here. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.